It was a big weekend last weekend, another one coming up. Take us back a few days before we look ahead. How did this past weekend go? What stood out about what Tennessee was able to get done and who they were able to bring in for the recruiting weekend?
It's kind of go time. You got official visits really cranking up heavily across the country this week. Now, Tennessee doesn't have any this week, but they certainly do the following 3 weekends, with June 20th being the biggest weekend of them all. So I thought last weekend establishes yourself with a lot of players that will be back in town for official visits over the next 3 weeks, and gives you a really solid shot to land them, because as we've talked about in recent weeks, Tennessee's hit rate on those that attend 865 Live and then the official visit is really, really good. And so I kind of like where Tennessee's at with several players leaving last weekend. I think Tennessee continues to trend well for Savion Hiter, the number 1 running back in the country. That one's going to have many twists and turns before it's all said and done, but Tennessee certainly has the momentum over the last 6 to 8 weeks, as they got him in town first part of April all the way through last weekend, where Tennessee's able to kind of get that visit from him, down here with his mom.
Yeah, number 1 running back in the country, and I saw where it was a little bit of a surprise that he came on a visit. It wasn't scheduled. What led to that, him deciding to come on the visit?
Well, Tennessee had been working to get him down here for the last several weeks, and he wanted to kind of remain low-key, so he didn't publicize it or really talk about it with anybody. He just kind of quietly slipped into town on Friday night and spent all day Saturday with the staff, and he and his relationship with Darrell Sims has really continued to blossom. And, to me, it's Tennessee and Michigan, 1-2 for Savion Hiter, and that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't think that one's really necessarily ahead of the other, so I guess it's just kind of co-number ones. But I think they are, above Ohio State and Georgia, the other 2 finalists for him.
All the players that came to Knoxville, and we're talking AwesomePriceVolquest.com, were warm to a certain extent. But was there anybody that was maybe lukewarm that Tennessee made a big impression with the most, and now it's hot? The guy came away really impressed, and now Tennessee is a serious contender.
I think, former Tennessee commit Brandon Anderson is one you could probably label in that category. I think at one point in time after he decommitted, Tennessee probably, was, it's probably far-fetched to think that he was going to end up back here. But after last weekend, it certainly feels like Tennessee's back amongst his top group of teams, maybe even his top team, the offensive lineman from Georgia. Tristan Givens is another one where I think Tennessee continues to do really well there. That's a Tennessee-Texas A&M battle for the talented edge. Tennessee continues to do well with Hezekiah Harris, who's committed to Auburn, but Tennessee kind of just keeps chipping away at that one, and Coach Chop's done a really nice job with Hezekiah Harris.
Austin Price, VolQuest.com with us. So it was a big recruiting weekend with another one coming up. What are we looking at with the upcoming few days for Tennessee from a recruiting standpoint?
Well, you've got some, guys like David Georges, the running back from Baylor, who will be in town, I think, Sunday for camp. I don't think he'll actually go through camp, but I think he's got, some people around him that are going to go through camp, and so he's going to come up and hang out and spend time with the staff. Obviously, Cooper Witten is one of the really bell cows that'll be in this weekend, the son of Jason Witten. But, you have other high-end guys in town like Caden Henderson, Amari Irvin from IMG Academy. You got a whole plethora of young IMG kids here like Larry Moon and Sincere Gaylord. When you look at this weekend, last weekend was really high, heavy 26s. This weekend, it's 27s and 28s. So you're talking about rising juniors or rising sophomores that will be in town this weekend for the Big Orange Barbecue and then, of course, camp on Sunday. And you got Keyshawn Bowman, who was here last weekend. He might make it back in this weekend. We'll see where that one goes. But all eyes are really going to be on Jason Witten's kid for fans, because that's the one they know, right? I could talk about Chris Whitehead from Virginia or Anthony Sweeney from Maryland, and most fans aren't going to know who they are. But when you talk about Cooper Witten, everybody's like, ooh, Witten, Jason Witten's kid. And so, all eyes will be on him because this is going to be really his first time coming, not for a game. That's just a regular recruiting visit, during the summer months to spend time with the staff. So that one's one that I think everybody will have eyes on.
Awesome. PriceVolquest.com. My favorite is when you have folks that make it seem like they know what recruits want, like they've talked to them. Well, AP, you actually talked to the recruits. Any dialogue, any conversations going on with recruits regarding Tennessee's upcoming apparel deal, potential change, or staying with Nike? Has that been a conversation amongst the recruits?
Again, we talked about this. I just don't know, like, at the end of the day, if the kid is getting more money from Tennessee than a Nike school, let's say, again, all this is predicated on Tennessee switching, right? Then is the kid really going to go, I'll make less money and go to the Nike school? Like, I just don't believe that. I think kids are going to go where they have the best opportunity, and then the best financial package. And that's kind of where this thing's at. Kids, when they walk in the door, they don't go, are you wearing Under Armour? Are you wearing Nike? Are you wearing Adidas? No, they say, what's my path to the field look like, and how much money are you going to pay me? So, do I think it could hurt them? Yeah, sure. I mean, you could have, outlying, circumstances that cause a kid to go elsewhere. But I think on the whole, most kids want to get to the field and they want to get paid. And if they just happen to wear Nike or Adidas or whatever else, that is what it is. If you polled everybody, I think most kids are going to say Nike just because that's kind of the cool, I know using the air quotes here, the cool brand, right, for kids. But, I don't think they ultimately really care. Does that make sense? If you ask me, do I want to wear Peter Millar or brand X? I'm always going to tell you Peter Millar. That's not to say that I wouldn't wear brand X, if I needed to. I'm just saying, I prefer that. That doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's necessity.
Austin Price, Volquest.com. Before you go, Joey Aguilar's been on campus, 2.5 weeks? Any rumblings? Players have gotten back to campus in the last several days. Anything you've heard about Joey on campus, quarterbacks competing, that conversation, which will dominate a lot of the next couple of months?
Yeah, Jake Merklinger was down in he stayed down in down in Chattanooga this past week and threw a lot with Mike Matthews, Travis Smith, Braylon Staley, Amari Jefferson. Obviously he's trying to butter up those receivers and build a bond there. Joey's going to have to hit the ground running, right? The facts are he's got the most experience, but he has no experience in this system. So, the next 2 months are critical for him to get in the building as players roll back into town this week, and to get over there throwing, interacting with teammates, doing all those things that I think are crucial to him being the quarterback if he's going to win the job. I'll continue to reiterate, this is a wide-open competition. You've got the most experience in the offense with Merklinger. You've got the most experience, period, with Aguilar. And then, of course, you got George McIntyre wanting to throw a wrinkle and a wrench into everything. So it's going to be a wide-open competition. And for Joey Aguilar, he's got to prove he can manage the offense, learn the offense, and not turn the football over. If he can do all those things, I think the experience probably would be a tipping point in favor of him. But he's got to prove he can do all those other things first.
If you were Jake Merklinger and Joey Aguilar asked you what time was meetings for the first practice, would you tell him the wrong time or would you tell him the right time?
Am I locking him out like Peyton did all those years ago? I'm not sure Peyton sees that story quite the same as Brandon Stewart did all those years ago, but I'm probably being a good teammate because at the end of the day, it's not real hard to figure out what time the meeting is. And so, you're just going to go out and prove it on the field. If Joey Aguilar can't learn the offense in time and is still making too many mental errors in the offense and then mental mistakes by, throwing the football away, it won't matter. Jay Merklinger will have every opportunity to win this job. So, again, open competition, and I think what they do on the field will help really determine who Tennessee's starting quarterback is when they play Syracuse.
Good stuff. Austin Price, Volquest.com. By the way, it's May 29th. Is today an appropriate time? Next week, would that be an appropriate time to ask for a June commitment over-under number? When do we do that?
Let's wait another week or so. I got to get this thing further down the line because, I've talked to a bunch of kids in the last week, and I think some of them are unaware of kind of like what they're unaware of. So, but they, like, when you start talking about, like, when do you think you might do something? This season, sometime in the season, like that just doesn't happen now. So I think a lot of them just are, they just don't know what they don't know at this point. So get another week or so down the line, we'll start talking over-unders.